Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Magic and Miracles 2, where we discuss how to be successful, how to be a better version of yourself, and how to upgrade in consciousness. Hello, my name is Anna, and I created Magic and Miracles with one purpose only: to help people of all walks of life understand that manifestation is really effortless. And my original channel did really well, Magic and Miracles, the original channel, in explaining it, catering to relationships with that angle. So I thought of all the other things that I really wanted to discuss, like motivation, entrepreneurship, people who want to start their own businesses. These are people I've coached for like 10 years. The last 10 years now, I've had people of all walks of life. As I mentioned, primarily entertainment, but a lot of business people as well. And, if you're an entertainer, you basically are the business. So if you're interested in coaching with me, understand there's a 1-hour session that's mandatory, simply to make sure we are a good match. So please watch more than one audio/video. And if we conclude that it is a great match, then you are expected to book the signature coaching program, of which I recommend 2 to 3 months in. Upon conclusion of that coaching, now this is on average, it depends on the situation, I will guarantee that you will have shifted timelines. Okay, it may not be the ultimate of ultimate goals that you have right now, but you would have made progress. I deal a lot with people who want to quit their jobs, who want to bring in the money that they have been craving for a long time, who want to make just simply confidence, changes within themselves, the self-esteem, etc. So you will have quantum leaped to that level where you feel stable. At the very least, this I guarantee. Now, how much work do I have to do with you, and how much work are you willing or able to do with me? All of that kind of depends, as you may understand. But this is why the first session, so we can discuss everything before you embark on this journey with me. The other thing that I will definitely guarantee is that I will show up to each and every single session, completely giving my all, as I always do. You might not, but I will. So your job is, again, to show up open, receptive, and respectful towards my direction. In that event, you will achieve great results in my coaching. So I wanted to continue the conversation on a narcissistic parent and success, because I immediately, upon completion of the first audio, I started ruminating, channeling, because I channel all of my material. And those of you who don't know, subscribe, like, and share so that others can benefit from this. It's a wonderful process, channeling, and I'm really grateful that I can do that. So, of course, it comes from my experience, but to channel is, I feel, to explain to another person, to convey some kind of a message that's going to be beneficial for them. So one specific thing that came to mind in particular, because I do attract quite a bit of clientele with narcissistic parents. Now, it doesn't have to be a mother, but primarily it just is. Because I think we can all agree that in the society, the way that things are kind of distributed, the mother inevitably, forget society, the way that nature is constructed, the mother is the primary caregiver, caretaker. She is the mother, and so when this very mother turns on you and starts thinking that, in fact, you're their competition. Now, this was a mind-blowing realization that I had to come to, but I mean years and years later. You don't understand, there's certain things that I'm still kind of very rarely these days. I've done most of my work 15 years ago. It was a profound amount of work. for a couple of years, I just dove into everything I could read, everything I could research. And during that time, I did a lot of processing of emotions, which is what we do in my coaching. It's not for the faint of heart, but let me tell you something. It really does. You walk away with years, if not decades, of pollution extracted out of you. And this is done purely by allowing yourself to tap into the emotion and not be afraid of your emotion, because we're programmed to be really, really scared of negative emotions. This you have to unlearn. Everything is there to serve you. Side note here, sorry. Everything is there to serve you, even the negative emotions, because they are informing you that you have something to work on. That's all. It's not a judgment of self, but as people who grew up in a narcissistic household, we tend to directly internalize that as a self-judgment, self-criticism. And again, I'm going to go with my example because that's all I really can share on my channel. From time to time, my clients allow me to share their success stories. I don't necessarily insist, but if they want to share it, then I'm free to share it without naming any names or anything specific. But in this case, we'll go with my example. Like I said, the shockwaves, they continue to come like years and years later. So like imagine maybe I'm already, at that point I remember distinctly having this conversation with this gentleman I was dating, and he was a gentleman. Listen, after I did my work on myself, my life transformed. My dating, my life just skyrocketed. This is why I believe everything that I'm sharing here and everything that I teach, because I experienced it myself. I was having this conversation with this gentleman that I was dating, and I shared with him. He was very nice, very understanding, and I shared with him something I've never shared really with anybody, or anybody who gave a shit to listen to me talk about myself for a change. I said, it was so weird. When I was growing up, my mom, she always compared herself to me or vice versa. But not, and I said, this is going to sound weird, and I hope you don't think anything of me. Back then, I was still kind of like shaky with the confidence still. Now I just don't give a shit. Whatever you think is your problem. But she was comparing herself to me like another woman, not her daughter. And he, without blinking an eye, he was like, oh yeah, that's very common. That jealousy it's from a narcissistic woman, from a narcissistic mother. And like my eyes just went like wide, like I remember that was one of the first times that I heard that term in this matter-of-fact kind of situation. And it was one of the it was the beginning stages. I mean, I knew my mom was fucking nuts, all right? I knew there was something wrong with her. I just didn't know what. I think it really helps to identify what the fuck is what in your life. This is what we do in coaching. Sometimes people come in with super, how can I say it? The perception is really mixed up. Let's just put it this way. And they don't even, because of all the trauma panorama that they've experienced previously, they don't have a clear perspective on what they're looking at. So it really does help to identify that if your mom was a narcissist, in fact, or if your dad was a narcissist, yes, to place that label, because we should call things for what they fucking are. Calling somebody crazy, it just doesn't do the job for the other person who had to deal with this person or has to deal with this person now. At the very least, it's like education solves a lot of problems. But it was the first time that it was so matter of fact, and I started to understand that, wait a minute, Like this guy, I didn't know him like for very long, but he was so understanding, and it was so matter of fact that I was like, oh, so I'm not crazy then. I'm not crazy. This is such good news. Like underneath it all, you still feel like, like you're the only one who feels this way about this person. This is how manipulative and how, how untruthful, how many lies they tell. Until their dying breath, they will continue to lie. That's my belief. Now some of them are worse than others. That goes without saying. It's on a spectrum. And I have, in my coaching, I've had people who have turned around their narcissist. However, I will say that, again, everybody's on the spectrum and not everybody's helpable. Let's just put it this way, because I think the how can I say, the believability of it has to be there. Like a complete and utter abusive asshole. It's very, very, very hard to imagine. For example, me having a very good relationship with my mom, or a good relationship, period. There have been so many lines crossed. You know what I mean? It's completely not salvageable. But this information would have helped me out back then, that this is why she makes me feel weird about me. But I mean, she literally critiqued the way that I would do my hair, critiqued the way that I would do my makeup. She would call me a whore, which is totally a horrible thing to say to somebody. And so all of this, right, this comparison, this imaginary competition that they have with the world, like she consistently compared herself to her friends in front of us, in front of my father, always trying to make herself better than somebody else. And even then, as a child, I was like, why do you need to be better than somebody else? Like, can't you just be yourself? What is this competition that you have even with me? Which is so fucking creepy. It's beyond. I mean, it goes without saying, but this competition that they create entirely in their fucking minds, simply because they feel so inferior, so insecure, that they have to prove themselves somehow. And so my point here, what I'm coming to, is that she, your mother, or he, your dad, taught you the same fucking thing. You have to prove yourself. There's competition out there. Go get yours before whatever somebody else gets it. All of it completely bogus, but they're rubbing off their insecurities on you. So now you're over here trying to be perfect, and I know this story like front and back and center. How out of a narcissistic household, it goes either two ways. It's either another narcissist is produced, or an empath, a people pleaser, essentially. Okay, so I guarantee 99.99% that right now, if you're listening to this, you're a people pleaser because you're an empath. And you've stood on your head in, 15 million different ways in front of your parent, and nothing was ever good enough. Am I right? Yeah. I did so much for my mom. I never got so much as a thank you. And in fact, I got lied upon, signed out of a will. How you like that? I mean, now it's funny. Back then, it was just jaw-dropping. And I found out by accident all of this idiocy that she thinks that she's somehow, lying about things I say, like she turned my sister against me and all of this. And, all of this dumb bullshit, essentially, because they believe that they are completely inadequate. But the point of all of this is not to take on that characteristic, not to get infected with this people-pleasing, with this obsession of what it looks like and how do I look doing this, and, the status, and look at me, I'm better, and da-da-da. Like, I never fucking got that shit. I mean, if I'm good at something, I'm just good at something quietly. And if I'm good at something, listen, I myself, my personality is such now that I've gotten used to saying good things about myself. I mean, I consider that actually an achievement, because I used to be just like all of you, okay? If not all of you, maybe most of you, I should say, couldn't bring myself to say a good thing about myself. And what do you think mirrored back? And now I make it a deliberate, conscious decision to say something good about myself, not in a narcissistic way, but in a genuine, I appreciate myself way. And this is true. So why should I be shy about it? And to some people, I understand it comes across as cocky and this and that. Trust me, this took work because I really had to find my identity again. And so, whilst you, again, think you're not good enough, that everything is wrong with you, this person tore you apart and still they were in competition with you. Okay? Don't you see how this doesn't make any flying fucking sense whatsoever about this person, and that indeed this person is mentally unwell? It's sabotaging relationships for you. I know I didn't speak to my dad for 9 years because she told me an entirely different story around their divorce. I was not involved in those conversations. And radically different story. Things like that. And so when you start finding out the truth, it hits you like in waves that you've been lied to about so many different things about yourself, about your worth, about your beauty, about your talents, about everything. Everything is a fucking lie. About what you're worth, about how much you can achieve, about everything, about that you got it from them. They take credit for everything. How can you take credit for what another person fucking does? Just because I popped out of your vagina? Get a hold of yourself, please. But the kicker is when you really start doing well. And they know. See, a narcissist is just smart enough to recognize who's doing well. Why? They will never understand it. They're not smart enough. That these people are really very short-sighted, kind of like a 3-year-old toddlers, basically. The intelligence of a fucking toddler that does not foresee consequences of their actions. Like you could look at their behavior and be like, how on earth do you not see the consequences of your fucking actions? They don't. They're not that smart. They're only smart enough to recognize that somebody's doing better than them. Okay? And then don't you know, it will be their job and occupation to smear you every which way they fucking can. If they cannot control you, you represent a threat. If you're not under the spell of their bullshit, if you recognize the truth, if you stand up to them, you end up being the bully and the harasser and whatever the fuck else they're doing to you. Again, an insane situation. And of course, right, every time, let's just say you went to your mom or your dad who was a narcissist with good news, with something to celebrate. Look at this, I've done this. Isn't this amazing? Look at this. No, it's not amazing to them. It's not. They're full of envy, jealousy, completely inadequate reactions. We will never understand these people, I don't feel, because it's kind of like, this is not a human way to be. There's a human way is empathy. A person without an empathy solely to get material stuff, which is what narcissists are really big on, getting themselves into trouble completely all the time and not making wise choices, suffice to say. But so this is the person then who taught you that something's wrong with you, right? That you're not good enough. Here, I'll make you feel weird about you every step of the fucking way. And the minute that you do well, I will completely smear your name all over the place. all over the place. And even worse, I will tell people that you're the one who caused the trouble. And, some people might believe that kind of bullshit. What are you going to do? Like run around, tell everybody? Listen, first of all, if a person is that not intelligent that they're going to believe a lie that somebody is trying to concoct right before their eyes, chances that I've done this before, you know what? That speaks to the intelligence of that person to believe that kind of, crazy person. But, reality is that they could for a short time affect that. Inevitably, the truth comes out. But for you in the meantime, to recognize that just because somebody told you that something's wrong with you and that success is actually wrong, and somebody will mind, not just somebody like your mother. Not only will they not congratulate you, be happy for you, but they will mind. Now, ladies and gentlemen, don't you think that this will create a huge, gigantic block in your mind, stopping all success from coming to you? Because you can't deal with the fucking drama. The drama is too fucking much. But I'm telling you, you've learned this thinking on a neurological level. On a cellular level, you've learned this. It's time to unlearn that. I had to unlearn all of this crap. And I recognize people like these, like my mother, who just ooze jealousy. I recognize them. And I've come to a very, very peaceful kind of resolution for my own sake. Saying to myself that, you know what, if somebody's mentally ill, I really just not only can I not hold a grudge against them, but two, I'm not even going to attempt to understand. I think I'm happy that this understanding came into my life as something that is called a narcissist, and it's thrown around so much that I feel like people are confused. It's an actual mental disease. And we as a society, we should be able to have these discussions in a productive sense, not disguising them as some kind of like horrible demons. They're very fragile and broken. But to recover from that kind of mindset, from this kind of hypnosis early on, this you have to. It's a must do. It's a must do. This is what, if you're having any money problems, if you're having any blocks that come up once in a while, if you're having, if you're constantly afraid that somebody is going to take something from you, if you're constantly afraid that someone's going to come and replace you or anything like that. It doesn't have to actually have to do rather with business, but just a general feeling, kind of like looming danger swirling around your life. This is a symptom of a very deeply hurt self-esteem, and I had to do this work. And I just want you to know this. No matter what you've been taught, no matter what was done, can be undone in your psyche, okay? You can become one of those success stories, no matter what you were told. Because what you've been told has been a very manipulative lie by somebody who needed mental health help and probably didn't get it. And I know that this is a lot easier said than done. Trust me, I know. But at least you have this hug from me and this comfort of knowing you're not crazy. I cannot even tell you how many times I had to look back and say, oh, I wasn't crazy. This bitch was crazy. And to believe, to start to produce more and more of this confidence of what I fucking think and feel and who I am and what I stand for fucking matters. And anybody else who's gonna come in my way and start telling me bullshit and fucking manipulate and trickery and this, that, is not gonna have a good time with me, because I'm not gonna play that fucking game. Okay, they're gonna play themselves in their own game. They always do, but you could just fast forward that time to where they fucking, do it to they always do it to themselves in the end, inevitably. They always cross over into the never land of line of no return kind of situation. Let them be, on their own in that journey. But you can come out of it victorious as fuck. Okay, I had a couple of these narcissists in my life. One of them was my husband, and I'm telling you, it was the last time I saw this kind of craziness in my personal life. I got married when I was 29, 30 last time, and, needless to say, I said, next time I'm going to get married, it has to be a good one. But it was the last time, because you really do deserve a peace of mind and appreciation for your life. I really want you to grasp this idea that if someone, and it's your mom or your dad, went out of their way, even your mom or your dad went out of their way to fuck with you, for the lack of better verbiage, you must be fucking special. That's how fucking special you are. They cannot tolerate your lights. This is why it's like, the expression, your light irritates their demons. It's so true, because you're not playing their games. Level up your game, darling. Level up your game. It's over fucking due. Stand up for yourself and create this magnificent, unheard of, unbelievable, magical life for yourself that you truly dream of. Thank you very much for listening. All the information from me is below. Until next time, ciao, ciao.